Everybody, I'd like to call to order this special business meeting for the Borough Council for the Borough of Gettysburg for March 23rd, 2026. It's a full room. Love to see that. Thank you all for coming out tonight. This is an excellent time to make sure your phones have been silenced. I'm going to do the same. We usually start our meetings here with a moment of silence and followed by the pledge. So tonight, as we take our moment of silence, some of you may be people who pray, some of us are not. But I hope you'll take a moment and think about the people in this community, including many of us in this room, who have been subjected to abuse in their lives. I want you to think about the people in our community who need us most and what we can all do for them. Would you all please join me? Pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. We're going to start the meeting tonight with public comment. I know many people may have come with something to say tonight, and of course we welcome that. I do ask you to keep your comments brief. We do set a 5-minute timer, but we do have important business ahead of us and yet another meeting after this one tonight. So I would ask that you try to make your statements as brief as possible. I need you to use the podium, speak directly into the microphone. Please state your name and address of residence, and please limit yourself to 5 minutes. Is there public comment?
It's going to be about the mayor race, right?
Yes, we can speak about things appearing on tonight's agenda in this first public comment section, and the only thing on this agenda is the appointment of a new mayor.
Perfect. Thank you. My name is Garrett Bumps. My address is 300 North Washington Street. I'm here to encourage the Borough Council to appoint Juliana Love as mayor of Gettysburg. Juliana is an active and engaged community member and historian. During the time I've known Ms. Love, I found her to be a dedicated and persistent advocate for the preservation and advancement of Gettysburg. She's outgoing, engaged, and passionate about our community. In a time of growth in Gettysburg, we need a leader who understands the historical value of Gettysburg. Juliana has proven herself a consistent advocate for responsible growth, for local business owners, and for preserving our unique charm. Juliana's experience as a local author and publisher of historical novels, and thus a business owner, provides valuable insight and well prepares her for the ceremonial components of the role of mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment. Anyone? Great. We'll move on. Thank you. We're going to start this evening with Solicitor Eastman. He's going to give us an overview of the prescribed mechanics here.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Moon. For council and also for the public that is present, I'm just going to review the formal procedures under the Borough Code, the law that governs the Borough Council and essentially the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, if you will, and the borough governments in the Commonwealth regarding filling vacancies in elective office. Council, it'll be good to know that it hasn't been long since you've actually invoked the exact same procedure. This was the procedure that council used to fill the vacancy as member at large of the Borough Council when Ms. Mayers was appointed to fill the vacancy due to the resignation of Chad Allen Carr as a member at large of the council, so he could assume the position of the elective office of mayor. Section 901 of the Borough Code provides that if any vacancy occurs in the office of the mayor, member of council, by death, resignation, or termination of residency from the borough shall fill the vacancy within 30 days by appointing by resolution a registered elector of the borough to hold the office if the term continues that long until the first Monday in January after the first municipal election occurring more than 60 days after the vacancy occurs, at which election an eligible individual shall be elected to the office for the remainder of the term. Again, it's for the appointment of an eligible individual, and Section 801 of the Borough Code provides who would be eligible to be appointed or elected to one of these positions. Only registered electors of the borough shall be eligible for elective borough offices. And this is very important, and I believe most of the candidates, if not all of the candidates, have already done this. Before being sworn into office, each elected borough officer shall present a signed affidavit to the borough secretary that states that the officer resides in the borough and has resided in the borough continuously for at least 1 year immediately prior to their election or appointment. And then finally, from a procedural standpoint, in terms of doing making a valid appointment, Section 10A03 of the Borough Code provides that the mayor, before exercising the duties of office, shall take and subscribe an oath or affirmation of office, which you'll see all of these items are on this evening's agenda to be completed.
Thank you, Solicitor. Mr. Gable.
The Borough Council of Gettysburg will follow a structured and impartial process to appoint a qualified candidate to fill the vacancy in the elective office of mayor and to serve as borough mayor until the municipal election in November 2027 and the subsequent seating of the newly elected mayor on January 3rd, 2028. First, individuals seeking appointment must be qualified electors who have submitted the required nomination form. To be eligible, each candidate must A, be at least 18 years of age, B, have maintained a primary residence within the borough for at least 1 year continuously prior to appointment, and C, be a registered elector of the borough. All qualified candidates are provided with the same set of questions in advance to ensure fairness and consistency in the evaluation process. During the public selection meeting, candidates will be invited to address the Borough Council in alphabetical order. Each candidate will be given 5 minutes to respond to the prepared questions and present her or his qualifications, perspectives, and vision for the role. One sitting council member, Christopher Berger, Ward 2, has submitted his name as a candidate for appointment as mayor. As a result, he will not participate as a member of the Borough Council in any portion of the selection process. His participation shall be exclusively as a candidate, including discussion, deliberation, or voting, in order to avoid any appearance of impropriety or any conflict of interest in the selection process. After all candidates have delivered their remarks, Borough Council will proceed with the selection process. The selection process will occur in rounds, with each council member present casting a vote in favor of one candidate in each round. The candidate with the least number of votes in any round shall be eliminated from consideration before the subsequent selection round. These rounds will continue until a final candidate receives an affirmative majority vote from the members of the Borough Council. Once a candidate has the indicated support of a majority of council members and the Borough Council has reached a consensus regarding the candidate to be appointed, that individual will then be formally appointed by adoption of a resolution and will be sworn in and seated as Mayor of Gettysburg. The new mayor shall serve in that capacity until January 3rd, 2028, which is the first Monday in January following the next municipal election in November 2027. At the January 3rd, 2028 organization meeting, the newly elected mayor shall be seated to serve the remainder of the term of office to which former Mayor Chad Allen Carr was originally elected. The term of office will expire on the first Monday in January 2030.
Thank you, Mr. Gable. I would also like to extend thanks to Pete Griffion, who kind of stepped in to help us with crowd control tonight. I appreciate you staying a little bit late tonight to help us out. And also Wendy Flax of Main Street Gettysburg, who is lending us her notary services in our secretary's absence. She's on a cruise or something, I don't know. Wendy has also been very generous in helping us to acquire the affidavits of residence. Ms. Flax, has each of the 14 candidates affirmed their eligibility to be considered for the position of Mayor of Gettysburg?
All but one. Daniel Carr did not complete his affidavit of residency. And this morning, Bradley Miller withdrew his name from consideration for the mayor position.
Okay. And we did make a concerted effort to contact Mr. Carr.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. So we have 12 of the 14 who have made their residency requirements. So we'll hear from 12 people tonight. We'll be striking Bradley Miller and Daniel Carr. All right. All right, folks, it's no secret that the reason we all find ourselves here is because of an elected official's personal scandal and allegations of criminal behavior. We have previously described this as a personal legal matter, and I stand by that description. While we are all feeling the effects of this situation, most especially any alleged victims, this is his personal legal matter, and it has nothing to do with the borough or with his elected positions. To the best of my knowledge, no one person in the borough government knew of these allegations or suspected that this was coming until after his resignation. Last week, we voted to accept the former mayor's resignation. Having done this, we created the vacancy we are convened here tonight to fill. 14 qualified electors of the borough stepped forward. 12 have made their residency requirements. These folks are offering their service to the borough, and I cannot stress that word enough. This is about service. Under the Pennsylvania Borough Code, the split powers of the borough fall primarily to council in what is called a strong council, weak mayor system. A mayor's role is largely ceremonial. While day-to-day operations of the police department are the direct responsibility of the mayor, all policy, the ordinance, the hiring, firing, and discipline of police officers, the negotiation and execution of the union's collective bargaining agreement, the settlement and dispensation of any legal disputes or suits resulting from the actions of our officers or command staff, all of these are the express rights and responsibilities of the Borough Council. A mayor's authority over policing is limited, and their work must be done hand in glove with the council. Quite simply put, collaboration and cooperation are imperative, not optional. The primary function of the mayor is to preside over the events in our lives that define our community. Setting the emotional and spiritual tone for a community is not an easy task, but good listening ears, the ability to communicate the needs of the resident and taxpayer, and the knowledge of how to help constituents and visitors alike address their needs is more than cheerleading. It is providing a human face for people when they have their concerns. The mayor does not write law. They do not have input on taxation, property rights, or any other legal concerns of the voter and resident. In addition to our 2 to 6 monthly meetings, they attend the leadership meeting, the borough's association meeting, and other weekly and monthly community organizational meetings at their discretion, be it for parades or festivals or special events. Pardon me. The demands on one's time must be managed, appointments and obligations must be kept, and yes, one needs to have a thick skin. When emergencies occur and we pivot to become the emergency response team for the borough, the mayor's role can change dynamically, and their physical presence and our ability to communicate quickly and nimbly become paramount. That could be a weather event, a train derailment, or even a public health emergency, as we all lived through. In a moment, we're going to hear your 5-minute presentations, applicants. To each of you, I mean it, it's 5 minutes. You will hear an alarm sound here on my computer, and I'll need you to conclude the sentence you're speaking and move on. Here are the 3 questions Vice President Sanders and I have prepared and sent to each of the applicants ahead of time, and these are topics we hope will be addressed in their statements. The first question is, Gettysburg is a special place. We are all keenly aware of the history and the meaning of that history, but what makes a community special is its people. As elected officials, we are charged with the health, safety, and welfare of the people who live here. As you think about the community that you have found, the people you run into at church, in the grocery store, and at your volunteer activities, how do you intend to make sure that the mayor of the office serves that health, safety, and welfare? How do you strengthen public trust when a scandal has eroded that trust? Number 2, this borough is in a time of transition. We have a relatively new council. We'll be welcoming a new chief of police and continuing initiatives that go back, in some cases, years and more, to revamp and modernize critical parts of the ordinance. In such a time of change, stability and calm are critical. Describe your strategies to work with council and our staff to project those senses of calm as council does its work for the taxpayer and resident. And 3, our town's economy is driven by visitation from around the world. Special events are a key driver of our ability to have a thriving local economy. The holiday festival, Halloween parade, Pride, the 4th of July, Juneteenth, Memorial Day, New Year's Eve, and more are events that bring tens of thousands of people to our home. And while they are here, it is our responsibility to see to their needs and keep them safe. Public safety and accessibility are hard to balance, and coordination with our many partners in the public, private, and law enforcement sectors is crucial. Please speak to the mayor's role in finding those balances and in maintaining those relationships. Those questions are, I would describe those as sort of 30,000-foot view questions of the mayor's office, right? On a daily basis, it's talking with people who live here and people who visit here. I got a voicemail in the mayor's office last week that was asking for phone numbers to help coordinate some sort of public transportation while visiting because they didn't want to drive around town. So sometimes it's just connecting people with services. Sometimes it is answering questions that are difficult and painful. And sometimes there's things we just can't help with. So at this point, we are going to start hearing the statements from each of the candidates. As stated earlier, we're down to 12, and we will be taking candidates in alphabetical order. You'll need to use the podium. Please use the microphone, speak clearly, and please abide by the timer. First up is Wendy Allen.
Thank you, President Moon, Vice President Sanders, and members of the council. My name is Wendy Allen, and it's an honor to be considered for the position of Mayor of Gettysburg. I was 13 years old in 1968 when I first visited Gettysburg with my family. It was a year of profound upheaval in America, marked by the assassinations of Dr. Martin Luther King and Robert F. Kennedy, the Vietnam War, and widespread unrest. It was a frightening time. I was a teenager, I could see no future, and I had lost all hope. But on Christmas Eve of that year, something extraordinary happened. Apollo 8 orbited the moon, and astronaut Bill Anders captured a beautiful image known as Earthrise, our fragile planet rising above the lunar horizon. That image changed how we saw ourselves. It reminded us of our shared humanity. After the mission, a telegram was sent to the astronauts that read, "Thank you, Apollo 8. You saved
1968. Recently, Gettysburg has experienced its own upheaval. Trust has been shaken. It's time for us to save 2026. It is time for us to find our Earthrise. As mayor, I will work to shift our perspective toward unity, service, and steady progress. I will focus on restoring trust, strengthening community, preserving our historic landscape, and ensuring that every resident feels heard and valued. Let us again be reminded of our shared humanity. For 48 years, I built a career in corporate educational publishing, with my final position serving as creative director for Scholastic Publishing. My part-time artistic career began in 1983 with my first portrait of Abraham Lincoln, who became the central focus of my work. In 2009, during the Lincoln Bicentennial, CNN featured my work. My portraits have been on exhibit in Washington, D.C., alongside artists such as Salvador Dali, Robert Rauschenberg, and Norman Rockwell. In 2010, I founded Lincoln into Art here in Gettysburg, becoming a small business owner in this community. In 2019, I received the WYCA Cali Award as Gettysburg Businesswoman of the Year, and was also honored with a Key to the Borough for my dedication to the community. I have been privileged to speak at the Gettysburg National Military Visitor Center and to appear on C-SPAN's American History TV. And I also created the long dinner with Main Street Gettysburg, bringing people together in a shared community experience and raising money to help with the Baltimore Street Revitalization Project, which I helped to initiate. In recent years, I've been honored with the Gettysburg Civil War Roundtable's Cal Doucette Award and Destinations Gettysburg's Jim Geddes Spirit Award for my contributions to Gettysburg. I currently serve as president of Lincoln Fellowship of Pennsylvania and founded the 100 Nights of Taps program, now approaching its 10th anniversary. And last year, the fellowship expanded this tribute to the Lincoln Cemetery to honor the United States colored troops buried there. So looking ahead, I am leading the America 250 PA Adams County signature event, Lincoln at Gettysburg. This November, we will recreate Lincoln's visit and his Gettysburg Address, reminding the nation of the ideals defined here. I will strive to be a first-rate ambassador, welcoming visitors and promoting all special events. I bring extensive experience planning events in close collaboration with law enforcement to ensure public safety, which will always remain my top priority. As America approaches its 250th anniversary, we have a responsibility and an opportunity to bring the nation back to Gettysburg. Gettysburg is not only a place, it's a symbol of sacrifice, of unity, and of the unfinished work of democracy, because this is where we were reminded what America was meant to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Berger.
Thank you, Council, for giving me the opportunity to speak. How do we restore trust in Gettysburg? As a teacher and coach for 30 years, and as a council member for the last 8 years, establishing and maintaining trust is a day-to-day challenge. I relish that challenge. I love going to work every day. I establish trust by being consistent, developing relationships and making personal connections to those I serve. Always being in the public eye, I am well aware that character is destiny. Integrity and authenticity are the hallmarks of trust. People know that I'm not afraid to stand up for my beliefs. When I meet people, I'm not a title, not a politician, or even a teacher or a coach. I'm a person hopefully connecting with another person, right then and there, fully in the present, with no motives except for meaningful human communication. The mayor's position should be focused on serving others for the common good of the whole community, not just certain political interest groups. 8 years ago, I asked one of my students about their goals for the future. He said, "I want to win a gold medal in the Olympics." I remember smiling back and saying, "I know you're going to make that happen." That young man, Levi Haynes, just won the college wrestling title on Saturday night. After winning the championship, Levi was asked about the importance of winning and losing. He said, "It doesn't matter if you win or lose. The most important things are the people in your life who support you. They are with you through it all. Your legacy is how you treat other people. All my awards and accomplishments in sports, academics, and the teaching profession mean little compared to the love of my family and friends, especially my wife of 30 years, Ann, Will, who's with me tonight, and my son, Ben. I also greatly appreciate those who support me in our community. Many of them do not like the direction council and the managing manager are taking this town. They see the influence of an activist base and a small group of connected individuals that are not driven for the common good of the whole community. They purport to go after the so-called old boy network, when in fact they are the network calling the shots. People who support me respect my independent-minded, common sense approach that puts the whole community first. The public knows that I did not support, endorse, nor campaign for the mayor who recently resigned. The public should also know that I do not support taking oversight of the police away from the mayor. The mayor should not just be a ceremonial position. Whether I'm appointed mayor or remain on council, the public knows that I will tell them straight. The buck will stop here. Character, honesty, and integrity will continue to be the hallmark of my public service. A good leader projects calm and protects the health, safety, and welfare of all its residents. To begin my career, I chose to teach in adult and juvenile correctional facilities. In prison, I learned how to successfully navigate conflict, de-escalate confrontations, and develop effective communication skills. As a former three-sport athlete, as well as a coach for the past 30 years, I have mastered the ability to keep calm and perform at a high level, even in stressful situations. People who know me know that I am calm, cool, and collected, even though the world seems to be spinning out of control. My faith helps me realize what I can and cannot control. I also have faith that this community can accomplish great things if we all work together. I have run and won my last 3 elections with public safety as my highest priority. I have the trust and respect of the police department and have worked closely with them for the last 8 years. I have helped to draft and approve 8 years of police budgets. I understand the workings of borough government and have good relationships with a member of all the borough departments. As an American history teacher, I spent my career studying and teaching the importance of civics and community service. Being passionate for Gettysburg and Adams County history, I know I can be an excellent ambassador for our famous town. I will promote trust, cooperation, and open communication between the police, borough staff, borough council, and the public. The college and business community will be heard. We live in a town where character, integrity, and common sense still matter. Let us move forward together and seek, as Lincoln so beautifully put, the better angels of our nature. I thank council for your consideration.
Thank you, sir. John Buckheister.
Good evening, Gettysburg Borough Council, Charles Gable, and guests. My name is John Buckheister. I stand here before you to give insight into why you should pick me as your new mayor of the Borough of Gettysburg. Since age 4, I have lived here, grown here, worked here, created businesses and residences here. Along with a career in healthcare, has helped me to learn how to become compassionate and transparent individual. We have a lot of work to do. Through constant two-way communication, skills, and practices between the borough and Gettysburg community, we can help regain trust in our community. As mayor, I will strive to create and maintain a bridge between the two. I will also strive to implement background checks and clearances for all prospective borough employees and elected officials. Our local government running our town is just as important as the safety of our children and our school system. With this borough being in a time of transition, I feel the best action to take would be to utilize the home rule charter system. There are 21 boroughs in the state of Pennsylvania who utilize this system. Of those boroughs, Carlisle, Latrobe, State College, as examples, like Gettysburg, are also college and tourist towns, but are run by the home rule charter system. I feel that this is a good system and support it because it is managed and community inputted by more than just one individual. As mayor, my goal will be to visit each of the 21 boroughs to speak to their appointed officers to acquire insight on the managing and ordinances of their police departments, to bring that information back to Borough Council to help implement better ways of creating stability and calm. Special events held right here in Gettysburg is a big part of our local economy. With this comes balance and coordination of public safety and accessibility. During the threat in 2017 and the shortening of the Remembrance Day Parade, I stood before Police Chief Glennie and council members to challenge them to come up with a plan to reopen up the historic parade route the way it was meant to be reenacted historically when Lincoln's route traveled from the train station to the National Cemetery. The borough and police department listened to my plea and came up with ways to make the Remembrance Day Parade a safer and accessible event. They reached out to neighboring police departments for extra security. Thanks to Robbie Harbaugh and his municipality employees for constant hours of placing cement barriers at every crossroad. The borough uses these same measures during the Memorial Day and Halloween parades, as well as the 4th of July, Pride, and Christmas festival. This helped to increase tourism and created safety measures for our town. As mayor, I will take the time to study these measures to communicate with the partners in the public, private, and law enforcement sectors to find ways to improve them both efficiently and financially. I just want to say, I truly love the town I grew up and live in, and have the driving passion and knowledge to gain the trust in our residents. Being good at what you do is not knowing or having all the answers. It's knowing where to find the correct information to obtain the answers. That is what I'm good at doing that. My parents raised me in a Christian environment to become an educated and compassionate human being who thinks with his conscience and speaks from his heart. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Rita Freeling.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Council. Mr. Moon, Ms. Sanders, Charles. I'm going to start out with you. No. Gettysburg is a special place. I grew up here. I was, anybody know this, Annie M. Warner Hospital? That's where I was born. It's now Wellspan. I grew up half a mile away from where Lincoln gave his Gettysburg Address. I'm a former seasonal park ranger. I love our town's history. My high school English teacher told me, Terry Fox, we were in class one day, and he said, look outside your window. You are on the most important battlefields in the world, and most of you won't learn about it. I took him up on that challenge. I said, I will learn everything I can find out about the Battle of Gettysburg. Our goal here is to keep Gettysburg moving forward. Having held the position for 4 years as mayor, I hope you agree. We need a mayor, whether it's me or anybody else here, who can be relied on to connect with the police department. Someone who understands the demands of law enforcement and respects the power and authority of those officers who have been given the responsibility for keeping us safe. One of the things I always talk to them about, and I don't know how your wives or partners or significant others, I don't know if I could have somebody go out every morning and not know if they're going to return home to me. That's a sacrifice, and that's dedication. Also, treat them and acknowledge them with respect. I know this because I've worked with them. The borough is in a time of transition. And we have to look at things differently. Like one of the things I did when mayor, I held office hours at the college. It's easier for me to go out there than for them to trek up here to see me, and I have a captive audience there. Also, one of the things, Charles, I decided when I was mayor that the borough manager, the head of the council, the chief of police, and me as mayor would meet once a month. So we all were on the same track and we're talking to each other, connecting. And this is where I said it. I didn't have a name for it, but Charles said, well, we're going to call it the Borough Leadership Council. I was like, hey, that sounds good to me. I don't have to take credit for everything. We have to work together. Thank you. And we're working as a team, the mayor along with council, in lockstep on one direction and one vision. It's how we improve Gettysburg and how we bring tourists here and how we keep our residents safe and how we make visitors here safe. Because they, like you said, they wanted a bus because they don't want to walk around. I talk to visitors all the time, kind of kept them entertained. So then without bias or influence, the mayor shares with council what we have seen and what we hear. By state law, the council was responsible for taxpayers and residents. The mayor is the face of the borough. The two need to work together, agree on strategy and messaging. And it is simply not you or me, not us against them. It's us all working together as one to improve Gettysburg. The situation we're right now, this mayoral appointment is unusual, because it takes the voter out of the equation. There's no campaigning, no fundraising, no speaking or listening to constituents. I still listen. I'll tell you the little plan I was coming with the other day. But no one is being voted into office. So it is extremely important to get it right so the best interest of the public is at the center of this decision. Not the interest of council, not the mayor or manager, or not the mayor-to-be, but it is for our people, not us. And I am the only person here tonight with the experience at this, and no matter what you decide, I am and remain a public service, willing to help move this borough forward. In fact, as I was trying to get a private business to move into the Rite Aid building. Oh, it's tax. It's tax revenue. I'm trying to get them to move somewhere else right now. But anyway, our town, we're driven by visitation. I was a park ranger, I know that. So we have our festivals and things, and we started Love is in the Square and Gettysburg Loves Love, and there's different ways the mayor can bring people into Gettysburg and just go talk. I served on boards. I was a member of the municipal league, and also the governor appointed me to his workforce development board.
Ma'am,
So
we're
I-
at 5 minutes now.
Oh, all right, I'm sorry.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Luke Freegun.
A tough act to follow, Mayor Freeling. Can everyone hear me okay? All right. Good evening, members of council, neighbors, and friends. Thank you for having me here tonight. Thank you so much for the opportunity to stand in front of you. Thank you for the work that you do every day on behalf of this borough. Public service is rarely easy. It's often thankless, but it is necessary, so truly, thank you for that. My name is Luke Freegun. I work here, I live here, and like many people in this room, I've made the deliberate decision that Gettysburg would not simply be a place I passed through, but a place where I would stay, invest, and build a life. I built a home here, I built a career here, and I hope to build a family here. I work at Gettysburg College in the admissions office, and every day I speak with families from across the country and around the world about this town, what it represents, why it matters, and why people still come here searching for something larger than themselves. And I've come to understand this. Gettysburg reminds us that the American story is unfinished, especially in this unique American moment we find ourselves in. I see it all the time in my work. A family from Massachusetts, a student from the Midwest, someone from visiting from overseas, they may have very little in common with each other, but when they arrive here, something shifts. They feel the weight of what happened on this ground and in these streets, and they start to see themselves as part of something bigger. But in the past few weeks, as has been mentioned, some of them have found their way to local forums or read local news, and they've reached out to me, confused, angry, saddened. I know I can see some of you nodding. I know you feel this way too. And they're asking me, is this really Gettysburg? The question stopped me dead in my tracks, because the answer has to be no. This is not the Gettysburg that we are entrusted to steward. One of the reasons I'm standing here tonight is because I believe we can do better. We must do better. And that path back begins with steady, honest, humble leadership. That's the version of Gettysburg I've made it my life's work to share. In many ways, I see that same responsibility at the heart of the mayor's role, to be a steward of this place and to be a voice for what it represents. We're constantly balancing past and present here in Gettysburg, right? Preservation, progress, tourism, livability, tradition, change, everything. That's not always easy. But as we approach the 250th anniversary of our country, it's that unfinished work that we must commit ourselves to. First person, I think, running tonight. Yay, young people. You should be skeptical of anyone who stands up here and says that they have all the answers, because we all know that nobody does. What I do bring, instead, is a deep respect for this borough, a willingness to listen, and a commitment to serve with steadiness and humility, with the understanding that the role of mayor is not to stand above the community, it's to stand with it. And I think that's really what we need right now. 3 things matter deeply to me. First, trust. It's an obvious first choice. Gettysburg deserves leadership that is steady, transparent, and worthy of the history that we inherit every day when we walk around these streets. This town should never be defined by noise or division. We should be known for something higher. Second, thoughtful growth. As we approach the 250th anniversary of our nation, Gettysburg will again stand in the national spotlight. When that moment comes, we should be able to say that we honored our past and for generations to come in Gettysburg. The mayor plays an important role in helping coordinate that effort, working with borough staff, first responders, local organizations, regional partners, many of whom are here tonight. Thank you for being here. And they make sure that our community remains both welcoming and livable during a time of heightened national attention. The third thing is connection. What makes this town special is how interconnected it is. The borough, the college, longtime residents and newcomers, visitors and locals alike. We're not always going to agree. We don't always agree. That's part of any healthy community. But my role as mayor would be to ensure that disagreement does not become division, that we stay grounded in what we share, a history, a responsibility, and a future, building a future together, At the end of the day, the job of the mayor is a simple one, even if the work is not at all simple. To show up, to listen, to speak honestly, to decide thoughtfully, as our council does every day. Gettysburg has always asked a great deal of the people who live here. It asks us to remember. It asks us to care. And in its own time, it asks us to carry its story forward. I care deeply about this town. I really do. I believe in this community. And if you choose to vote for me tonight, councilors, I will serve with the seriousness, humility, and sense of purpose that this town deserves, and that the memory of those who gave their last full measure of devotion here deserve. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nancy Goodman.
Good evening, and thank you, Council, for allowing me even to be standing up here. My name is Nancy Goodmestead, and I would consider it an honor to be the mayor of Gettysburg. Our community deserves leadership that listens, acts with integrity, and delivers results. I believe in a transparent and accountable local government, one that works collaboratively with residents, businesses, and public servants to address challenges and create opportunities. My goal is to ensure that every decision made in the mayor's office reflects the best interests of our citizens. When faced with a serious scandal, I believe the borough should be honest and transparent, making a statement noting the seriousness of the situation, how it was handled, and expressing concern and support for any victims involved in the situation. I believe the statement should be included in the borough's website for full transparency. Protecting calm during periods of change starts with disciplined leadership, clear communication, and a unified approach between council and staff. I believe in establishing shared priorities and a structured process for reviewing and updating ordinances, ensuring everyone understands the goals and the timeline. Regular, well-organized meetings with staff would keep internal communication steady and prevent confusion, while also giving employees a chance to raise concerns early and feel heard. Externally, I would emphasize consistent, transparent updates to residents, explaining what changes are being considered, why they matter, and how they will benefit the community. Maintaining a respectful, solutions-focused tone in all public discussions is key, especially when there is disagreement, so that residents see stability rather than conflict. By staying organized, communicating clearly, and modeling professionalism, we can reassure taxpayers that their government is focused, capable, and working in their best interest, even during times of transition. Our town's rich history draws over 1 million visitors each year, and special events bring in tens of thousands more. Gettysburg needs to foster strong collaborative relationship with a wide range of partners, including every department of the borough, private organizations, law enforcement, even Destination Gettysburg. By actively engaging with these stakeholders, the mayor can facilitate coordinated responses to community needs, align resources efficiently, and ensure that policies protect residents while promoting access and inclusivity. Maintaining open lines of communication, building trust, and modeling transparency are key to sustaining these partnerships and achieving outcomes that serve the health, safety, and welfare of all of our citizens. I would be honored to be selected as the next mayor of the most famous small town in America. I have recently retired after more than 40 years operating 3 different businesses in town. I now have the time and energy to fully dedicate myself to serving our community as mayor. Public service deserves focus and commitment, and I am ready to give this role the attention it deserves. I will work tirelessly to strengthen partnerships, uphold public trust, and guide our city toward a future that reflects both our shared values and our proud history. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Allison Lintel.
Good evening, members of council, borough staff, and community members. My name is Allison Lintel. Tonight I will share who I am, why I feel called to serve, and how I intend to strengthen trust, collaborate with calm, and ensure that safety and accessibility are balanced in our community. I grew up in South Central Pennsylvania, and I understand the unique dynamics of this region, but I also have fresh perspectives from my time spent outside the area. My career identity has evolved from attorney to business owner. I opened my yoga studio here in the borough 2 years ago. My background in government service as a lawyer, my knowledge of the demands of opening up a small business, and my time spent as both an administrator and a professor in higher education, as well as my experience as a parent to young children, make me uniquely suited for the role of Mayor of Gettysburg. I've been an active member of SCAP's At Home in Adams County Coalition for the past 2 years. Over the last 15 years, Adams County has seen a 20% decrease in folks in my age range, 35 to 54, while our population of folks 65 and older has increased by nearly 50%. This is a troubling trend for a local community that relies heavily on a tourism economy. Since 2010, rental prices in Adams County have increased by 75%, while the median home sale price is $321,000, which is higher than our surrounding counterparts in other counties. As housing costs have risen, incomes have remained stagnant. More and more folks, including those who are local to the area, are being priced out. These types of demographic trends and housing shortages make it challenging to assure the long-term sustainability of a community. I want to be Gettysburg's mayor so that our special community remains welcoming and available to all who want to live here. Trust is something you give to another because they have earned it. Listening and aligning behavior with values is an essential aspect of building trust. Our judicial branch ensures the administration of justice and upholds the rule of law. It remains important to not let individual bad acts define an entire community. Together, we are the sum of our parts, not our individual pieces. One important role of the mayor is to strengthen community relations between residents and officials. This is best accomplished through listening. As an administrative hearing officer for a local housing authority, I have served as an impartial decision maker. All parties feel more empowered when they get a chance to share their story or perspective, even if the outcome is not what they desired. Change and transition can feel less destabilizing when we operate from a place of alignment with our values. You can still be calm amongst the discomfort that comes from change. Yoga taught me that. It's important for the mayor to get out in the community to experience what is happening. In my role as a lawyer, I closed multifamily housing deals that involved public and private sector entities. The implications of my work as a lawyer did not become tangible until I visited several of these housing projects in person and better understood the impacts of my role. Additionally, transparency and communication are important for fostering calm during a period of transition. Putting community first should not just be the priority of government officials. It is and should continue to be the ethos of the Gettysburg community itself. Preparation and advanced planning are key to balancing safety and access. It's important to not just forge but maintain relationships with stakeholders so that when an emergency or issue arises, trust has already been established and there is a clear division of roles for how to respond. During law school, after a devastating natural disaster occurred in Haiti, I quickly mobilized pop-up immigration clinics in collaboration with healthcare and faith-based providers so that we could assist the local community. Already having existing relationships with these providers and organizations made our reaction time quick and our collaboration seamless. As mayor, I would ensure that I meet with representatives from the police department, the college, community organizations, the business community, as well as the public to understand both constraints and opportunities so that we can better collaborate. Having resided in the borough for 2 years and Adams County for 11 years, I've realized that there are a lot of benefits to being part of this community. People get to know and help their neighbors. They have a deep respect for nature and history. They want to support local businesses and farmers, as well as engage in meaningful work. They desire to have affordable housing and access to quality education and childcare, an overall good quality of life. How can we ensure that everyone can continue to access these benefits in the years to come? The mayor does not need to be an expert. The mayor is an instrument of the people and should be appointed due to their ability to listen, to exercise judgment, to understand the overall community needs and interests. Not every constituent can have the exact outcome they personally desire, but everyone should feel heard.
All right, thank you. All right. Our next candidate, Juliana Love, expressed to me that it can be difficult to speak for 5 minutes at a time. Yeah. So she had asked me in an email whether it was permissible to have a proxy speak on her behalf. We said we could do that. I guess we're not able to provide one, so Ms. Love asked if I would read the statement. Is that still your preference? All right. Happy to do so. I did practice it earlier. I came in at 5 minutes and 20 seconds, so I'm going to try to go speedier. Thanks. So I'm speaking on behalf of Juliana Love. What makes a community special are its people. This, added to our town's economy, is driven by visitors and people from around the world. The reenactors that used to grace our town with living history are the reason the majority of those people come here. This, after all, is a historic town. I am sure you read the recent remarks by our state senator, Doug Mastriano. I agree with what he stated. However, I also believe that in order to heal the wounds, not just from scandals, but also from strong political opposition, a good mayor must become a bridge between the past and the present that unites and connects the community, regardless of race, creed, color, political affiliation, straight, or of the LGBTQ community. Our community is a diverse one, and the mayor must not adhere to his or her own party affiliation alone, but to treat each member with respect, kindness, care, and compassion. As mayor of Gettysburg, I would spend time out in public and not just in an office. I believe that being part of the community, welcoming tourists, listening to grievances, and allowing others to voice their need is a huge part of this position. I feel that for too long people have lost their voice. It is ironic because, as you know, from time to time, I physically lose mine. But it does not make me unfit for the position. I actually think it enhances reasons why I should become mayor. I understand empathy. I believe a mayor should be approachable and make sure that he or she keeps the public informed. If needed, a mayor should be a liaison between the Borough Council and the community. The above tourists that I previously mentioned wanted to be immersed in Civil War history, and when they find out there are hardly any reenactors, they leave disappointed. Not only that reenactors used to bring millions of dollars in revenue to our town, thus boosting our economy. Gettysburg is a historical town, and it needs to stay that way. How would I intend to make sure the office of the mayor serves health, safety, and welfare of our community? First, I would monitor the protests personally, along with officers from the Gettysburg Police Department. I would have the permit in hand and make sure it is honored. I have filed several complaints with the Borough Council and the Gettysburg Police Department about such violations, including the use of a megaphone, profanity on signs, and other violations. The Borough Secretary sent me an email telling me that no violations were ever reported. This is not only shocking, it scares me because not only did I report them, but several other people did too, including business owners and managers. Recently, there were people staying past the allotted time on the permit, people in the streets chasing cars, waving their signs, crosswalks that are still blocked, the use of a megaphone that is still happening as well. If someone does get hurt, or worse, killed, it will be the borough that gets sued. I fully understand that GPD does not want to interfere with someone's First Amendment rights for fear of them being sued as well. But our ordinance are in place for a reason. Safety violations like chasing cars and blocking crosswalks can bring significant harm to the protesters and other pedestrians as well. A mayor is to, quote, preserve the public peace and order within the borough, enforce borough ordinances and regulations, and remove nuisances, end quote. I would not infringe upon someone's First Amendment rights, but I do expect it to be a peaceful protest and not one that constantly breaks the terms of the permits. At that point, the safety of the community becomes into question, and something must be done to stop it. If all other efforts fail, only as a last resort, revoke the permits. The mayor, on another note, must be mindful of conditions of the sidewalks, ice and snow removal, and issues pertaining to public safety and transit. The mayor might not have the authority on certain things, but he or she must bring to the attention of those who do issues that might be a concern and detrimental to the health and well-being of our town and all who visit. In regard to working with the council and staff to protect a sense of stability and calm, my strategies are simple. Be available. If needed during the time of transition, maintain all social media, create newsletters to keep the public informed. As previously stated, be a liaison between the community and the Borough Council if need be. This help would be to ensure a sense of calm by building a sense of trust, reliability, and accountability first. It is the mayor's responsibility to provide for the safety and well-being of the town, but I believe the Gettysburg Police Department must be involved in all aspects of special events, as well as the Borough Council. Working together as a team and preparing beforehand is a key. I believe that the way to balance and maintain these relationships is by mutual respect, listening to advice, and understanding that we all are working for the common good of our community. In conclusion, as a reenactor myself, we must do better at welcoming them back to town. I am aware of the controversy surrounding the Confederate uniform. However, we cannot change what history has left behind. As much as the LGBTQ is welcome in our community, so must the reenactors. We do not have the right to judge what parts of history are right or wrong. I'm just going to go ahead and finish. Discrimination and abuse have been allowed to run rampant in our town, and we must do better at putting a stop to it. All right, so that's 5 minutes. Are you content with that? Thank you. All right. Bradley Miller has removed himself from consideration. Next will be Vanessa Rice.
Hello, my name is Vanessa Rice, and I have lived in Gettysburg more or less since I attended college here in 1975. So I've been here a long time. I raised my children here. I married a local. We divorced, but I decided to stay here because I wanted my children to be raised here. I love this town. I've worked in the Gettysburg area as a registered nurse for 35 years, caring for patients of all ages and backgrounds. I felt compelled to apply for the mayor position after the recent scandal of our precious town, and we deserve better than that. And with a nudge from a friend of mine, I decided I needed to say something and I needed to be a part of the cure since I was a nurse for so long. Although I have no experience at being mayor and I have not been in borough government, I believe I have skills needed for the position as I understand it. Because I am a nurse, I'm also a musician and I work hard and I really love this town for myself and for visitors and for the community. I'm going to tell you about my background a little bit in nursing because that gives you an idea of why I think I might be okay at mayor. I worked for the school district Tech Prep, the Adams County Tech Prep, as the allied health instructor when it first started. I taught juniors and seniors in high school from 6 different school districts via distance learning, which was a pre-Zoom camera-based teaching. It was not easy, and I did it in 3 different locations and traveled from location to location and served 6 school districts. I developed also a clinical shadowing program for those students from scratch. All of this required building and maintaining relationships with school superintendents, principals, staff of healthcare offices, staff of healthcare facilities, and with the students. I also worked in the emergency room as a nurse. That is where I learned about triage. What is an emergency and what is not an emergency? And that is very important to people and very important for us to know. Also in the ER, I learned how to navigate communicating with people who are under extreme duress. And I learned how a calm demeanor can make a difference for someone's experience and in its outcome. I also worked with the agricultural health program here in Adams County and in Franklin County. I worked with farm workers and their families. We partnered in that organization with farmers and local organizations, to provide care for them, because we couldn't do it all ourselves in our little organization. So we worked with WellSpan, we worked with Rabbit Transit, we worked with Survivors, and Keystone Health from Chambersburg. I was also manager in that organization for a time, and I collaborated with the Keystone administrators to update our policies and procedures and to maintain our JACO accreditation for our office. My last job before retiring was at Gettysburg College as the COVID case manager, and that was a new level of chaos I had never experienced as a nurse. A lot of my job was actually just to provide the facts and calm people down. I did contact tracing, and I worked with other health personnel in contact tracing, but communicating with the parents, hysterical parents, communicating with students, and communicating with the college staff on a daily basis to keep everyone updated. In retirement, I've had an opportunity to work with a completely different part of the culture here in Gettysburg. I teach tap dance at the Arts Council. I'm prop coordinator at the local community college. I'm a piano accompanist, and I'm in a couple of clubs around town. Trilogy is one, which is based on the history of the women in Upper Adams County. I like to ride my bike around town to run my errands, because this is a good place to do it. And I can do that all in Gettysburg, all those extracurricular activities I find here in Gettysburg. I believe that the key to building trust, whether you're a nurse or a teacher or a mayor, is to be honest. You have to listen, and you have to hear what you're listening to. And you have to be respectful to whom you're listening to. And then you yourself have to be consistent, and you have to follow through with what you say and what you do. Building trust takes time, and it takes patience, and it's a continuous process. Whether it is triage in the emergency room or triage in an elementary school health room where someone has lost a tooth, remaining calm and compassionate.
That's your 5 minutes.
and level-headed is imperative to the well-being of the person in need. You have to be calm and level-headed, no matter what the problem is. My understanding of the mayor's
We're past
role.
5 minutes here.
It's 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Kenneth Surface.
Good evening. When I grew up in the Lehigh Valley, Mack Trucks was moving out, Bethlehem Steel was soon to close. It's when Billy Joel sang about it all coming to an end in Allentown. We were still optimistic that resilience can overcome, and so it should be here in Gettysburg that we find that same resilience. I spent most of my life in leadership, 20 years in the United States Marine Corps, and a decade next in public education as a music teacher. I can still lead, and I teach through my music history speaking work, first in Old Town State Park in San Diego, and then moving home to Pennsylvania in 2014 here in Gettysburg. Every year across 15 states and on a few documentaries, I tell history stories about America, leading with my living history tribute band, I call it, the Antebellum Marine Band. I keep one foot in my Marine Corps heritage that way, and I share the gift of music in a very unique way. We play for the Brass Band Festival. We play all over eastern Pennsylvania, south down near Annapolis as well, always performing the music of America and teaching our history as well. In 2018, I realized a childhood dream to become a train conductor at the Strasburg Railroad and at the East Broadtop Railroad around the History Talk work. Quite a juggle. In that role, I always worked to be respectful of the history I represented, do the job well, and I always loved that work. That is me. So you may appreciate now my replies. Question 1. My primary MOS in the Marine Corps was as a musician, but all Marines are made the same way, no matter our day job. This carries an expectation for exceptional conduct at all times. We bandsmen are keen to this for how people see us. There is more to keep our honor clean than a catchy phrase from the Marines hymn. After 10 years in the Corps, I was assigned a recruiting tour to find people to become Marines. It was the best growth experience I had as a Marine leader. From 3 years of constant public engagement, 360 out of 365 days a year, I found 70 people qualified to go to boot camp and graduate as United States Marines. When I assumed the duty in Escondido, California in 1995, I had an uphill battle beyond the monthly quota. The Marine before me had stained the Corps' reputation through inappropriate acts, individual, as you might say, with a high school girl at that very school I had to work. He was removed from duty and taken out of the Corps. And how I presented myself at those schools was focused on restoring our reputation. Before I transferred 3 years later, 2 of the high school principals where I recruited noted to my commanding officer, Ken came in and became part of the campus. Didn't call me Gunny or Sergeant, he called me Ken. Ken gave back to us and not to recruit just for the Marines. Public safety is an important responsibility of the mayor. One medal I earned as a Marine was for saving the life of a transit in San Diego in 1992. My citation I could show you. I was conducting a community band in Balboa Park, and a man stumbled into our rehearsal. He had been stabbed and robbed outside. My trainee took over, and I slowed his bleeding until an ambulance arrived. He survived, and we never met again. In the citation, a trauma doctor stated that had I not acted, this man would have bled out and died. Human life is sacred, and if we're in a position to preserve and protect, we must. Safety is a serious topic, and nobody should feel unsafe at any hour of the day. Guests on our street shouldn't be harassed by passing cars, blowing air horns, or shooting water guns or foam darts at them. Those placed in authority are responsible for the general welfare of all in their charge. Question 2. Our mayor needs to be somebody able to articulate what we stand for and encourage fiscal health that leads to stability. In my final tour in the Corps with the 1st Marine Division Band, 2002 to 4, I had the duty of supply chief, quartermaster, as our repair tech had retired right on the eve of Operation Iraqi Freedom. So I was charged with our $80,000 budget responsible for our equipment. I kept the books balanced and never was audited. It taught me the responsibility of spending other people's money. We have a rich history here with question 3, beyond the 3 days in 1863. We are a center of education and sports while the arts flourish along with the foodie experiences. I want the smallest shop to succeed and am sad every time one of those old school shops is folded. Times change and we must shift with that, but Gettysburg's strength is tourism. I was made to be this town's ambassador, starting with my living history work, my experience with horse tours at Gettysburg as a carriage driver, and being an outrider for their battlefield tours. My experience with reenacting and tourist railroads gives me a point of view on tourism that no other candidate can offer. I have ideas on promotional schemes that excite me to imagine. I hope we can share those. I would enjoy promoting our business potential enthusiastically as all the events that bring visitors. The mayor must be a mayor for all, not any one group. An advocate to rebuild the name of our town is most important as a respected place in our nation. With respect to the oath of office, more than words, they are a call to duty. We need a mayor that exudes trustworthiness, that restores our reputation as a place of respect, safety, and our national story. I sincerely believe I can provide that. The bottom line, my efforts would go towards presenting our town in the most positive light, not only as a tourist destination, but as a place people want to come to and proudly claim as a place in which they live. So I appreciate your time tonight, and I welcome anybody who has a question for me later on. My name is Kenneth J. Surface, Gunnery Sergeant, United States Marine Corps, retired, Semper Fi.
Thank you, sir. David Todd.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. Gettysburg has been an important part of my life since childhood, and I have been proud to call the borough home for the last 5 years. I have spent more than 25 years in public service, including law enforcement and leadership roles with the Pennsylvania Office of Inspector General, where I managed investigations, supervised personnel, and worked closely with government agencies and agency stakeholders. And today I continue my public service as a Park Service volunteer at the Eisenhower Historic Site. Throughout my career, my focus has been on integrity, accountability, and serving the public. I care deeply about the community and would be honored to serve as mayor. Gettysburg is a special place because of its people. As mayor, I would focus on being visible, accessible, engaged with the community, whether at local events, in neighborhoods, or simply being present and approachable in everyday interactions. Public trust is built through consistency, transparency, and accountability. My experience with the Connecticut State Police and the Inspector General's office reinforced the importance of fairness and integrity in public service. If trust has been challenged, it is restored through steady leadership, clear communication, and treating people with respect. Trust is earned over time, and I would approach that responsibility with great care. During times of transition, stability and calm are essential. My approach would be to work closely with Borough Council and staff, listening first, communicating clearly, and to support the work already underway. I understand that Gettysburg operates under a weak mayor, strong council form of government, and that the role of mayor is to support the work of the council and borough staff. I would approach that responsibility with focus on professionalism, cooperation, and respect. My leadership style has been steady and measured, and I would bring that same approach here, helping to ensure decisions are made thoughtfully and that the borough continues to move forward in a positive direction. Gettysburg events are vital to the community and require strong coordination and planning. Public safety and accessibility must be balanced carefully. My background in law enforcement and public service has given me the experience working with multiple agencies and partners to manage large-scale operations and events. I see the mayor's role as supporting these partnerships and helping ensure clear communication between all stakeholders. I would work to maintain those relationships and support the professionals responsible for planning and executing these events, always with a focus on safety and a positive experience for both residents and visitors. Again, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. Gettysburg means a great deal to me, and if selected, I would serve the borough with professionalism, cooperation, and respect. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Kristen Webb.
Thank you. My name is Chris Webb. I'm a native of Gettysburg, and more importantly, a friend to this community. Before I say anything else, I want to pause and acknowledge this moment in our borough. Let us not rush to judgment, but instead lift Chad Allen Carr, his family, and this borough. The eyes of our nation are upon Gettysburg, and how we respond will define us. So I stand before you not just as a candidate, but as a resident, a business owner, and someone who has invested her whole life here. For decades, I have owned 60 East Hair Design. In 2024, I co-founded the Gettysburg Film Commission with Bo Brinkman. I've had the honor of producing films right here in our county, A Gettysburg Christmas and Gettysburg 1863, bringing opportunity, storytelling, and economic growth to our region. But more than titles, I bring something deeper, relationship. I believe the mayor of Gettysburg holds one of the highest callings in America, because this is not just any town. This is hallowed ground. Every street we walk, every field we pass, carries the weight of sacrifice. We have a responsibility to every drop of blood that was shed here, and to every generation yet to come. We are the greatest small town in America, and I believe this: when you know the mayor, you know the heart of this town. Right now, our borough is in a time of transition. We have faced challenges. We have felt the weight of disappointment. But this is not the end of our story. This is a moment for us to rise, to rebuild trust. We must embrace something bold, radical transformation. We must accept accountability, not just in words, but in action. And we must be willing to look inward and ask ourselves, are we leading with integrity, with humility, with a servant's heart? We must rebuild not just systems, but trust, not just policies, but people. Let this not be a chapter of shame. Let it be a turning point of transformation. Let history say that in this moment, Gettysburg chose to become stronger, wiser, and more united than ever before. The qualities I bring to this role come from the life I've lived. I am a mother. I am a business owner. I am a volunteer who has served this community for over 20 years. From working in my church office, to leading women through recovery, to serving in prison and women's ministry, to sitting in borough meetings years ago just so I could learn how the town governs. I didn't step into leadership overnight. I grew into it by listening, by serving, and by showing up. Since 2017, I have led a prayer group for our town, our state, and our nation right here on this sacred ground. In my salon, I've spent decades listening to people's stories. I've learned how to bring peace into difficult conversations, how to redirect negativity, how to create a space where people feel safe, heard, and valued. My clients are not just clients. They are my friends. They are my neighbors, and they are my community. And that's the kind of mayor I will be. A mayor who knows you, who sees you, who listens to you. Through my work in film production, I've managed budgets, I've coordinated large teams, I've worked under pressure with unions, regulations, and very tight timelines. I understand how to lead through complexity. I understand how to solve problems in the middle of chaos. And through my work in recovery ministry, I have learned something even more important. I have learned to be calm in their storm, to lead with compassion, to bring peace where there is pain. I am loyal, and I am a problem solver. And everywhere I go, I choose to carry peace with me. I believe we are here for one purpose: to leave things better than we found them. My heart belongs first to God, then to my family, and then to Gettysburg. And those who know me know this to be true. Abraham Lincoln stood not far from here and reminded us of our responsibility as the living. Thank you. Let us rise together.
Thank you, Chris. So obviously 11 of you are going to leave here today, not the mayor. There were kernels of wisdom and observations in every one of those statements that resonate with me. Chris Webb, nobody understands the slings and arrows of public service like people in customer service. I will say that. Right. Rita, you're absolutely right. It's not fair that it's council making this decision. It should be the voters, but unfortunately that's not an option we have. It should be the voters, though. You're right. You're right. The process that we're about to go through is, we've gone through it now twice in 6 years. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for us. It's uncomfortable for everybody in the room. Some of you will not get votes in this first round. The first time we did this, I think we had to go 6 rounds until we got to consensus. I'm going to say the same thing to all 12 of you that I said when we filled the last at-large council seat. I believe every one of you when you say you feel the call to civic service, and I implore you to all fill out the application for our 10 authorities, boards, and commissions. There are other ways to get involved in the health of this community, and we need volunteers. We have open seats right now we're looking to fill, so if you haven't filled that out, please do so. And that goes for everybody in this room. There are many opportunities to be involved in a stronger, better Gettysburg. I do want to make a point, though. The last month has been the most stressful I think I've ever experienced. There's been a lot of pressure focused on council, but I've been feeling it very particularly strongly. Filling in this role is not anything I ever aspired to. It seems like we are in the news every day for the last month. And these good folks at the back of the room have called me pretty much every day, whether it has to do with the livelihood of the Pride organization, whether it has to do with scandal tainting the office of the mayor, whether it has to do with one of several critical Facebook posts, whatever it is. It's our job, it's my job, it's Charles' job, it's our staff's job to project that calm we've been talking about all night. And even though this has been a stressful month, the lights are on, the bills are getting paid, the police are patrolling, the garbage is getting picked up. Our government has continued. Our role here tonight is to continue to move forward, right? The only way past is through, and that's our job. So even though I know it gets the blood up every time you see the name Gettysburg in the news, this will pass, and we're going to continue doing good work here. We're going to continue pushing for public projects like the Baltimore Gateway Connectivity Program. We're going to keep building the inner loop. We're going to keep building this community. We're going to keep finding ways to address affordable housing. We're going to work together as a team. So I know it's been rough, but we're going to get through it all. All right. So the next portion of the evening is the council discussion and any follow-up questions for specific candidates. I guess we'll just start at one end, and if you don't have a question, that's fine. We'll go from one end to the other, and then we'll do it again just in case anything comes up. Mr. Rio, do you have any questions for any candidates? Mr. Bales?
No.
Thank you. Ms. Sanders?
No.
Mr. Mooney? Ms. Mayers?
No questions.
All right, thank you. I'm not going to do a second round. So at this point, we just have to vote. You've seen the process described. I think Harry, Charles, and I each took a turn describing it pretty much word for word. Mr. Gable will call the roll call vote. All of these votes are public. All of this whole process is as transparent as we can possibly make it. So with no further ado, let's enter our first round of voting.
As stated earlier this evening, each counselor will have one vote in this round. Please, when I call your name, vote for one of the following qualified candidates in round one: Wendy Allen, Christopher M. Berger, John Buckheister, Rita C. Freeling, Luke C. Fergon, Anne Marie Nancy W. Goodbestad. Put it down as you put it on your form. Alice Linshall, Juliana Love, Vanessa M. Rice, Kenneth J. Surface, David P. Todd, or Kristen Webb. Mr. Bales, how do you vote?
Christopher Berger.
Ms. Mayers, how do you vote?
Allison Linthal.
Mr. Mooney.
John Buckheister.
Mr. Rio.
Christopher Berger.
Ms. Sanders.
Allison Linthal.
Mr. Moon.
Wendy Allen.
Wendy Allen has 1 vote. Christopher M. Berger has 2 votes. John Buckheister, 1 vote. And Allison Linthal, 2 votes. Those individuals move to round 2. Give me a moment to reset. Round 2. Mr. Bales, how do you vote?
Christopher Berger.
Ms. Mayers.
Allison Linthal.
Mr. Mooney.
Wendy Allen.
Mr. Rio.
Christopher Berger.
Ms. Sanders.
Allison Linthal.
Mr. Moon.
Wendy Allen.
We have a tie between Wendy Allen, Chris Berger, and Allison Linthal. Those individuals will move to round 3. I made an error. Mr. Buckheister had a vote in round 1, and we excluded him inadvertently in round 2, or did I not? No, he was there. He was there. Okay, thank you. Just confirming. Mr. Buckheister, not receiving any votes in round 2, will be eliminated in round 3. Three remaining qualified candidates are Wendy Allen, Christopher Berger, and Allison Linthal. Mr. Bales, how do you vote?
Christopher Berger.
Ms. Mayers?
Allison Linthal.
Mr. Mooney?
Wendy Allen.
Mr. Rio?
Allison Linthal.
Ms. Sanders?
Allison Linthal.
Mr. Moon?
Wendy Allen.
Mr. Berger, being the least votes in round 3, will be eliminated in round 4. Two remaining qualified candidates are Wendy Allen and Allison Linthal. Mr. Bales?
Wendy Allen.
Ms. Mayers,
Allison Lintel.
Mr. Mooney,
Wendy Allen.
Mr. Rio,
Allison Lintel.
Ms. Sanders,
Allison Lintel.
Mr. Moon,
Allison Lintel.
Allison Lintel, receiving a majority of council, has been elected mayor of Gettysburg.
All right. Ms. Lintel, would you please go to the podium? Ms. Flax will be over.
I would remind council that in order to affect the action of your selection process, the law is very clear that you must do so formally by the adoption of a resolution.
Would anybody care to make the motion?
I'd like
I'll
to
make
make
the
a
motion.
motion to adopt resolution number 032326, appointing Allison Lintel as the mayor of the Borough of Gettysburg in order to fill the vacancy in that elective office with the term of office of this appointment expiring on January 3rd, 2028, which is the first Monday in January following the next municipal election to be held in November 2027.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I heard Ms. Sanders first. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Flax, would you please deliver the oath of office?
Personally appearing before me is Allison Lintel, who was selected to the position of the Gettysburg Borough Mayor by the Borough Council, and who took and subscribed to the following oath. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Allison Lintel,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
And then Adams County. Okay, congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Take care.
Ms. Lintel, your new seat is right over here next to Sergeant Evans. It's Allison, A-L-I-S-O-N, L-I-N-T-A-L.
Well, one official. I mean,
Is there a different way to do that in the future?
I mean, just the official resolution, which will be part of the records of the borough.
I don't know if anybody out there.
Could the room come to order, please? The next section of this meeting is a return to public comment. This section is not reserved to items appearing on tonight's agenda. Is there any public comment tonight? All right. Seeing none, we will adjourn. Council, let's meet back here at 7:15 for our workshop. Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to call to order this workshop for the Borough Council for the Borough of Gettysburg, dated March 23rd, 2026. Some announcements. An executive session was conducted by the Borough Council of the Borough of Gettysburg immediately following the adjournment of its monthly business meeting held on March 9th, 2026, consistent with Section 708A1 and Section 708A5 of the Sunshine Act. An executive session of the Borough Council will be conducted immediately following the adjournment of this evening's monthly work session meeting, consistent with Section 708A1 and Section 708A5 of the Sunshine Act for the following purposes. 1, to provide updated information and to discuss matters involving the employment or appointment of current or prospective borough employees, and to provide information and to discuss the PHRC complaint filed by a former borough employee, and 2, to review and discuss matters of borough business which, if conducted in public, could lead to the disclosure of information or confidentiality protected by law. We do not have any special presentations this evening, and it does not look like we have any public to make a public comment, so we'll go directly into new business. New business this evening has to do with the proposal to add a command position to our police department. That would be a position of lieutenant. This is something that has been suggested several times over the last few years, and hopefully council members have all had a chance to read our 2 recent consultant reports on the operation of the department. Noteworthy in both of those reports is the concept of adding this command position. A lieutenant's position would be between the chief of police and the sergeants and would oversee the sergeants. This would most likely be a salaried, non-union position, and it would most likely be a position that requires an investment in additional training. The concept of adding lieutenant is a tricky one for us budgetarily. As you all know, we're about to go into contract negotiations with the collective bargaining unit. This tends to be a process that results in persistently higher costs to the taxpayer. And that is not meant as a slight in any way. It's just we must do our best to make sure our employees are compensated correctly, that we are doing our best to be competitive with other markets, and quite frankly, the cost of doing business is climbing at a rate that is terrifying. So, the budgetary concerns that come to mind have to do with the fact that we have added patrol positions over the last few years that we are still struggling to fill. We created 2 new patrol positions 2 years ago, and only this year are we actually starting to pay for those positions, and even still, we have not successfully filled them. Additionally, as we get into collective bargaining, there's an opportunity for us to look at staffing structures within the department, and there's an opportunity for us to look at how dollars are allocated. It is very possible that we can reallocate already budgeted dollars in order to create a better command structure with the lieutenant's position, but it's also possible that that money is not able to be restructured and that we would have to look to supplementing our funding. And we all know what that means. It means property tax increases. We really only have the 3 revenue streams, and only 2 of them are directly in our control. That is parking and property tax. Parking at the moment is maxed about as far as it can go in most categories, given the limitations of our existing technology. So were we to decide that we wanted to create another position that we don't already have funds allocated for, or we can't redirect funds to, we would definitely be looking at a millage increase for this one position next year of probably somewhere around 0.25. It's a pretty significant increase. I'll turn this over to Mr. Gable for any other points that he might have and any research he may have conducted on the concept.
Mr. Moon articulated very well 30,000-foot view of this. Again, Mr. Steffen and Mr. McDonough were two consultants that worked in our police department in various capacities. Each had slightly different mission in their assessments of the department, and both independently arrived at the conclusion that there needs to be an enhanced command structure in the police department to provide proper oversight, particularly for different shifts overnight, where the issue tends to be most of our senior officers tend to work day shift, and so our younger ones are usually in a position overnight who might not, they're fine, but they probably could use a little bit better supervision command structure. So, Ms. Mayor Lintel, whenever council has a weighty policy decision like this, staff usually puts together what's called a policy briefing summary. These generally aren't public documents because they're still formative in the council's deliberations, but the council and you will have these at your disposal to review prior to any meeting. There's to Mr. Moon's point, there's significant costs associated with potentially adding a higher level command personnel in the department. I won't belabor the two reports' findings. That they are there for your review if you have not done so already. This is hypothetical with our 14 sworn Act 120 personnel. We would have the chief of police, who would then directly oversee a lieutenant and also the administrative non-Act 120 certified civilian employee. The lieutenant then would be overseeing our auxiliary police department officers, and our part-time officers, as well as the two squads, Squad A and Squad B. Each squad would have a sergeant assigned to it. We currently have the two sergeant structure, so that would not change. But then we would still have the ability to have a detective that's essentially assigned to each squad, and 4 patrol officers for each squad as well. And then per the contract, the collective bargaining agreement, those would be a rotating type shift.
All right, when we talk about the need for supervision, and Sergeant Evans, at any point in this discussion, if you feel like you want to opine, please do. Your leadership experience and insights are valued here. I hope you know that. When we talk about the need for supervision, we're not necessarily saying, you know, these guys are messing up or whatever. What we're saying is that we have been, over time, getting a younger and younger police force. As we have seen some of our older, more experienced officers move on in life, and we started hiring younger and younger people. Recruitment has been difficult. We're not always able, or we're not necessarily seen as a viable move for experienced 120 certified officers, mostly because we are not competitive with our pay rates. Is that a fair statement? Yeah. The borough would counter that we do have some, you know, relatively generous leaves. We do pay out a lot of overtime. But with our current recruitment efforts, we find ourselves hiring young people and sending them to the academy, right? So we're not necessarily poaching experienced officers from other departments. So as we move forward through time, you know, we're going to start seeing a younger and younger department, and the value of having ready access to supervision is valuable for them as well. Being able to take verbal and even visual cues from an experienced officer is didactic, and it's important. There are a few places where throughout the week, we're a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week, 365-day a year public service that we provide with our police department. And with only, 14 people, that's hard to staff. It's a lot of man hours. It's a lot of time on the road. It's a lot of calls. And because of that, because we have positions unfilled, because we've had people out on medical leaves or family leave or deployment, we are pushing our officers pretty hard. A lot of them would maybe willingly take less overtime if it meant they had a little bit more family time. You never know. So restructuring would not necessarily be viable under the current staffing structure that's specified in the collective bargaining agreement, but were we able to come to an agreement in our upcoming negotiations about changing the way those shifts are structured a little bit, we would have the freedom to really look at how we are staffing command structure. And then there's another point which I think we have a responsibility to address, which is that we are not providing these officers, especially these young officers, necessarily a clear path for moving forward. What is their career development? Is patrol officer at the end of the line in Gettysburg and they've got to move to a different municipality if they ever want to have more challenges? We have it in both of these consultant reports that we need to start thinking seriously about succession planning, and not just so that we have people in the pipeline when we have an opening occur, but so that we are investing in the officers on our employ as well, and we are making sure that they are the leaders of the future. And the way we do that is by giving them positions to work towards, whether it's a young officer now who's taking on detective work, and by all accounts has kind of a brain for it. Being able to give them these opportunities is important, and right now it's something we're not doing well with. So more command structure is more opportunity for moving forward, and it also gives us the opportunity to start investing in the training of command staff as well. Making sure that a lieutenant and our sergeants and our detectives are receiving the ongoing continuing ed that they need. Thoughts, questions, discussion?
The structure that's on the board up there, does that 14 number include the chief of police and lieutenant? Because it looks like there's 4 patrol officers, 8, 2 detectives, and 2 sergeants, so that's 12.
5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, 14 including the chief.
Including the chief.
Don't count the admin assistant. She's the +1.
Okay.
And then don't count auxiliary or part-time.
Okay. I didn't know if it was 14 uniformed officers.
It's 14 sworn officers, including the chief, +1 who is unsworn.
Charles, can you just describe a little bit more about the role of the auxiliary police?
I might lean on Sergeant Evans, Officer in Charge Evans, for this, but just fill in the gaps for me. Largely, they they're used very limitedly, mostly for special events and for traffic control.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not sworn officers, but they like Charles said, they assist in traffic control, special events, help out with parades and stuff like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
And you don't have to be a sworn officer for that. You can be sort of deputized by the mayor, and then there is a training. I believe it's a 2 or 3 hour training on sort of rudimentary traffic control for special events.
And I believe there's eight of auxiliary now.
Something like that. Yeah.
The number fluctuates depending on the year, but it's in that range.
Okay. Thank you.
I would just let you, or just because we have a new mayor, let you know precisely what the Borough Code says about auxiliary police. The mayor may activate auxiliary police in accordance with general law and notwithstanding any other provision of law, may activate auxiliary police for purposes of crowd and traffic control for limited periods during events if, in the mayor's discretion, public safety is promoted by the activation of the auxiliary police. So that's what the Borough Code specifically provides for that.
That's great. Yeah, thank you.
Could I ask a question about that?
Of course.
Is there a pool of auxiliary police, or is this just one individual? Like it's
Right now, it's my belief, and it may be wrong, but without looking at payroll, I think we have 8
okay.
auxiliary officers on our payroll at the moment. But again, that might be a little bit overstated in that they're very rarely used, only generally speaking in a special event.
And then our part-timers regularly supplement our weekly schedule pretty extensively, really. We have, I think, 4 part-time officers. Is that right?
We have 5 currently.
All right. So as to the question of creating a new command position, is there any question?
Sergeant Evans, could you do you see pros and cons in this hierarchical setup?
So I haven't seen these reports, these consultant reports, so I can't speak to what,
Sure.
what exactly they're saying the lieutenant is going to do. I'd imagine, since you said it's a command position, it's going to be outside the collective bargaining agreement or union. So the only issue there would be, probably less pay due to less opportunity for overtime. I understand the salary is a little higher, but then you have, less opportunity to maybe fill some shifts and work special details and things of that nature. Maybe a little bit longer hours or maybe a little less compensation in that regards. So I can't really speak on it unless I know exactly what they're saying the job is going to be specifically.
So one of the reasons that were we to create this position, it would be beneficial to have this be a non-union position is because in a command structure like this person may be, this person would most likely be involved in internal investigations and would be key in the issuance of discipline. And that's one of the things that it is difficult to do when you are a member of the same collective bargaining unit. Disciplining your peer and your brother in the local can be, I think, a little onerous and could create a lot of adverse situations for the borough. Whereas somebody from outside of the union would have I think, a cleaner approach at, specifically discipline.
I have just one quick question. Would this be a position that you're looking to fill by the end of the year, or what's sort of the long-term plan or idea about creating the position?
So it really depends how we wanted to fund it, right? If we want to just kind of fund it whole cloth and create a new budget allocation, then we would have to reopen the budget. That could be a months-long process, and we'd also have to figure out where that money comes from. If we were to try to do it in this calendar year, we would probably dip into reserves. Whereas if it were to take effect next year with a new collective bargaining agreement, then we would be budgeting for it sort of naturally.
I have a question. Are we assuming creating this position that we would have internal applicants, that somebody looking for promotion, and you mentioned that without, you're going to go without union protection? What if there would be a lack of interest of anybody in our department because of that? Would we look?
We could,
yeah. But
yeah.
that wouldn't affect many of our guys as where they are right now, but we'd have to look outside the department.
I mean, I think the hope is to create opportunity within the department, but if nobody were interested, and we were still intent on creating the position, the recommendation to create this position goes all the way back to Rob Glennie. I mean, he was advocating for this for years. But yeah, were there no interest internally, we were still intent on creating it, we can look outside if we want, but I mean, for me personally, the goal would be to create opportunity within the department.
While we're talking about compensation, Sergeant Evans, are you suggesting that were someone who can get overtime were to be promoted into this position, that they might actually be taking a pay cut because they're not getting overtime anymore?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, it's that, and working the holidays right now, there's incentive for our officers to work because they get paid extra.
Yep.
So that, take that in account as well. Also, I mean, for the position outside the collective bargaining unit, then, you limit that lieutenant position from being to wanting or being able to fill some shifts only because, they have less protections. So that's something to consider as well. I mean, you could look at something like maybe a floating corporal or something like that for night shift. There's other options out there that you can look into. I mean, you mentioned, specifically supervision on night shifts. I understand right now the sergeants flex, to cover both day and night shifts to be with their daytime officers and their nighttime officers. But, right now, of course, it's a flat organization, and I commend you guys wanting to add structure to that for upward mobility. But, that lieutenant's position is going to be one position that, only certain people within the agency could fill. As a floating corporal position, could potentially any of the patrol guys could fill that. Just something to think about.
That is an interesting point. All right, we're going to keep, do you have anything else to cover on this?
No.
Okay, so we're going to keep talking about this, right? This is not an immediate overnight decision. This is recommendations made to us by multiple people over years, and now is a really excellent time for us to start discussing this because we are in a transitionary period, and we also are about to start negotiating that next agreement, and this is sort of a natural inflection point for us to look for opportunities to make a meaningful restructuring, were it warranted, were it recommendable. So keep thinking about that. Those of you who have not had a chance to review those two reports and their draft status, please make sure you do. Please set aside time for that. Mayor, we'll talk about all of those reports soon. There are several. You're going to have to carve out a big chunk of your time. And as we start thinking about this, I mean, please continue talking to me, to Charles, talk to Chris Evans if you've got questions about the current internal operations of the department. We will revisit this throughout the year. Mr. Whitmore, sidewalk ordinance revisions, outdoor dining and furniture.
All right, good evening. I have a short presentation for you tonight. We're not going to have the usual graphic of multiple circles, but when we're talking about sidewalks, there are a lot of components that go into the sidewalk ordinance and sidewalk regulations. Tonight, just talking about a very small subset. Outdoor dining itself, it's regulated under Chapter 13, Part 11, outdoor dining areas. Chapter 13 is the borough's licensing, permits, and general business regulations section. We have a number of licenses like solicitation, transient retail, things like that that are occurring that are regulated under this section. In looking at outdoor dining, this specific ordinance highlights two different aspects. I've highlighted them in yellow and in blue. The first one, the yellows, that's really encouraging the establishment of outdoor dining areas there's a business case to it. Encouraging areas in Lincoln Square and other areas of public access, and providing vibrant enhancements to pedestrian-oriented business. The blue sections detail mobility, and in particular, ensuring mobility for all populations. That's something that when we're looking at regulations and ordinances related to specific design requirements, ensuring that minimal travel widths are ensured and that slope levels are maintained. So keeping this with outdoor dining, the borough for the 2025 season had approximately 12 preset applications. Not all of them were fulfilled, but in general, most of the applications that we're finding for outdoor dining are occurring near Lincoln Square. We have 5 directly on the square, and in the PBS that was provided in the staff in the documentation, we have imaging showing the locations of most of these are within 1 block, with the exception of President's Coffee and the Farnsworth House. All those locations are very tightly packed together. So I want you all to keep that in mind. When we're talking about this, there's kind of like 2 different areas. We have the square and everywhere else. The square itself, as the manager has indicated previously, we've looked at redevelopment options to increase the ability to have additional programming space. So as it is right now, there's a lot of area that is being taken up with cars. If we have opportunities to increase the space available for these restaurants, we have the ability to produce additional revenue opportunities for the borough. Looking at just that aspect, though, are the other things that are also within the public right-of-way. And I'm talking specifically what we consider street furniture. It's not all benches, though. When we're looking at street furniture, this can include pretty much anything. In particular, though, signs, poles, parking meters, retail merchandise. Just even back in the day, you had newspaper machines. Before that, I mean, there were periods. There's been a lot of growth in this in the retail space and retail environment for right-of-way commerce. So there's a lot of things going on. We like to have, though, a unified look for many of these improvements. With the recently amended zoning ordinance, there are provisions that require the development of streetlights in certain areas. One of the things we're going to be looking at with the subdivision and land development ordinance later this year is the design standards for those types of improvements, so that there's a unified look for the borough-maintained infrastructure. As it relates to current street furniture regulations, portable signage has been regulated. That was recently amended in 2014, getting into the ADA standards. With that, there are improvements that we had the specific light poles and whatnot. I mentioned we'd be looking into the SAUDA ordinance, but then also this section 21204 or 206. That's actually the sidewalk ordinance itself has sections that are currently reserved, so there is opportunity to increase the actual ordinance language or code to provide additional regulation. And with that, I'm going to ask a few generalized questions for the commission or board tonight. Looking at 3 general categories, I have 4 questions. So the first 2 are kind of related. Right now, the borough charges a flat application rate of $100 and then $4.50 a square foot. This upfront cost can get into the thousands of dollars relatively quickly and may be a hindrance to some locations that do not necessarily have the capital to provide this service up front. It may be beneficial to look at 2 tiers of classification to encourage those areas in close proximity to the square to maintain a certain rate, but then also encouraging additional business formulation as proposed by the ordinance in areas such as Steinware or the other commercial corridors along Route 30 or even up Carlisle. Looking at that permitting schedule, we may also think about opportunities to regulate other street furniture. In particular, we have had instances where benches, carpeting, other novelties, and of course merchandise have been placed into the public right-of-way. All of that could be evaluated for specific regulation to establish areas where A, you're allowed to be placing those materials, but then also B, if there would be a permitting scheme. That's something we'd previously discussed. It would be beneficial to have some guidance so that we could this would be one of those aspects of the code that would be put into the sidewalk section, one of those reserved areas. And with that, moving then to that fourth one, establishing specific requirements for dining, barriers, or rope, getting into the non-municipal owned and maintained infrastructure, if you want specific design criteria for those private investments or private furniture that's publicly accessible on the right-of-way. So I know I gave a whole bunch of things out with all at once, but overall, the first two items, those would be addressed by the fee or resolution that's passed yearly at the end of the year. Number 4, that's something where we were looking at the subdivision and land development ordinance. We could also include that with the sidewalk section, and then that's what number 3 would specifically be in the sidewalk as new regulation. If this is something that's acceptable, staff can proceed with finalizing initial ordinance language for review for that new permitting scheme. But otherwise, we're prepared to be able to have updated fee ordinance or fee resolution parameters established for later at the end of the year.
I'm sorry, can you talk about number 3 a little bit more? I'm not quite understanding.
So, instances where if a private property owner puts like a bench out in front of their business, as it is right now, it's not necessarily permitted. There may be instances where that type of improvement or that activity isn't a bad thing. It would be something that could be encouraged in certain instances. But then there's also the potential that there'd be abuse. So it's one of those things where we wanted to see if it would be palatable to enable the regulation or enable individuals to be able to place what could be considered private belongings into the public right-of-way.
Okay. So can we kind of go one by one, and if you had to ask a question that kind of summarized it, what would it be here?
Well, so like for the first one, it is the idea of having 2 different or multiple zones for these types of permits acceptable given the across-the-board rates that we're using.
Do we have specific examples of a vendor who has said, I would do this, but the current pricing is too prohibitive?
That's not what we've experienced. What we have, we just haven't been advertising this program. So that's one aspect. But then the other being, we're just seeing where it's not happening. There's potential with some of those businesses to be engaged. And we wanted to see if it would be something where, A, we would do that through incentivizing the activity, or if we would just generally just put it out there.
Like what specific area are you referring to?
Steinware.
So you're saying that different places would have different costs associated with
Yes.
your outside dining permit?
Yes.
And you would,
I think that could get a little tricky just because these owners talk, and it could be like, why is, John down the road paying this for his outdoor dining permit per square foot and I'm not? So I think that could get tricky. I'm definitely not in favor of raising that fee. I know we've already increased their property taxes recently in the past 2 years, and I'd also say I'm on the road every day, and I'm talking to multiple owners at different restaurants, hotels, like everywhere, every day, and no one's having a great time of it. Labor's through the roof for less experienced labor too, and you're paying more for it. The food costs are crazy. For example, like our cattle herds are at the same levels they were in North America in the 50s. So, I mean, that right there drives a ton of stuff through the business. So, I don't think, at least as far as I see it now, I'm for more red tape for them to have to jump through. If someone wants to put out some shirts on the side of the sidewalk and try to sell them, and as long as people can still I don't have a huge problem with that. That's just my initial take on it.
Yeah, I was wondering on the different levels, perhaps, of outdoor dining costs, if it might be that we're talking about people with liquor licenses can afford it and those without could not. That might be a little more palatable if we were not raising this, but instead giving a lesser version to try to incentivize others to get more outdoor dining. That would make sense why there were different costs rather than why is that region different than me? Do you agree?
Sort of.
Yeah,
A lot of people won't care about
They'd still be mad.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is dependent on how much space you have in front of your building and how busy your establishment is. You know, just right on the square, two businesses across from each other, one has 2 or 3 little tables out because that's all there's room for. So they're obviously going to pay a lot less. Another establishment has a lot of sidewalk space and busy, so they can pay the higher price. And I think that would be proportionate anywhere you go. You go up on Steinware, you're going to have areas that don't have as much square footage available. So I think that's a fair way to do it. Everybody's treated the same. I agree also maybe to have, instead of the tier being based on your location, by maybe a liquor license or something like that, or your occupancy number. Like if you've got a little, I'm just trying to think of like a little place on Steinware that has like a seating capacity inside of a dozen people maybe. You're only going to have a couple tables out front. So it's going to be more of a hurdle for a business like that, where say one that has, seating for 30 or 40 tables, to accommodate that, if that makes any sense.
It makes sense to me. I mean, everything all three of you have said makes total sense to me. Like, I understand the rationale of sort of stepped pricing by proximity to the square. I mean, we certainly do that with parking. But for this, it's like we essentially have 2 separate commercial districts in town. And the one we're proposing lower rates for here has sometimes an advantage in that there's a built-in clientele of visitors who, a percentage of whom never make it downtown. And I'd also point out that, this isn't our first bite at this apple either. We've tried to incentivize outdoor seating during the pandemic. We created, I think, a extraordinarily generous parklet program that would have allowed, some of these restaurants were down, if they had 10 four-tops going into it, they were reduced to 4. And we were saying, hey, take this parking spot and you can do 3 or 4 more tables. You can double your tops. And no one took advantage of it then either, with extremely generous rates. So I don't know that incentive. If you're saying we're not really marketing this, then before we start incentivizing it, I would say let's market it, right? That all said, if we did want to offer a tiered structure, having a liquor license versus not having a liquor license, it's like one person's printing money, the other one's not, right? So that might actually be a great way to split those incentives. I think that's a really solid idea.
I just had a clarifying question. So the restaurants that currently do have outdoor seating, are they using this system of like paying for the permitting?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. The other thing that I was going to say is thinking of marketing more outdoor seating. I've mentioned before, I'm from Westchester Borough, and the outdoor seating is huge there. We shut down our main street every weekend in the summer. And I think that's just kind of like a community thing that started, but also I'm thinking of Media Borough, where they have under the lights specifically on certain days to kind of market and get more people to come out and eat outside. Has there been programs like that attempted?
We have not here.
Okay.
And not for lack of desire, but it's really more about just the nature of our built environment. We don't have a ton of space to play with. I've had people approach me and say, okay, right next to the chocolate market and the Michaud. There's this alley, and for about 50 feet, it's really just brick walls, and it's kind of a cute old-timey alley. Like, could we on Friday and Saturday night shut that down to automobile traffic, put tables in there, and create, put string lights across, and like, we can pursue that, right? I mean, when I lived in San Francisco, there was entire streets that were shut down permanently to automobile traffic, and it just becomes outdoor markets and outdoor dining, and that's pretty cool too, right? I don't see why we couldn't experiment with sort of modular, seasonal things. Now, that's going to be a little harder down on Steinway. Like, you really have to ask somebody to give up their parking lot, which is a tall ask, right? Or driveways. I mean, they just don't have the same... not that we have a ton of amenities for this downtown, but it's even less, I think, down in the Steinway district.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely something we're looking forward to with the current suggestions for the square redesign. Is that creation of more human space as opposed to automobile space. Opportunities for tables and music and gathering, and sadly we are still years away from that being realized. So I do like your idea. I think we can start talking about creative ways to create that where we can, but that all said, for this question, I wonder if maybe we've kind of landed on it as the liquor license being the better determinant of a tiered system rather than geography.
And staff can provide some potential or some programs options for that.
Okay. Cool.
This is good feedback for that then. With the new permitting schedule for other temporary non-dining outdoor furniture, there are instances in the code now as it relates to things like flower boxes where we do require certain items to be pushed directly against the building. This does have a safety component, especially as it relates to snow removal. Those plow trucks do go over the sidewalk edge every once in a while and will take things out. That's one of the reasons we have we have to have specific design requirements as it relates to pedestrian control nowadays, as some of those things have to be built pretty sturdily. If it's agreeable to council, we'd like to potentially put that into more of a formalized system where it's everything pushed up against the building, or at least designed in such a way that it's complementing the Gettysburg environment that's in, and also this gets into something Harb has been pretty vocal about in the past year about the harmony of blocks and the rhythm of buildings and how that built environment does contribute to the historic district. So being able to provide not only property owners but the general public just with information to understand what's permissible outside, where it can be placed, and then expectations for how it can be used, as opposed to having individuals come out and fill out a permit to be able to put like a flower box in front of their stoop or something like that. But then if that's agreeable, if anybody has problems with that, please, I can discuss that now.
Anyone?
I kind of go back to when we were going through COVID and stuff, and the streets were just bare with nothing. There's no A-frames out. There's no flagpole. So personally, I think it adds to the character of walking around downtown to see how different store owners merchandise themselves and are trying to get you to come in the store and whatnot, and pulls you in, or you stop and you're like, okay, well, what am I going to see in here the next? So I think it adds to the character as long as it's still ADA accessible. I don't want to add more onto the business owners that are sticking around here. I want it to be more friendly, and I'm not saying this isn't friendly. It's just it just seems more bureaucratic stuff that they have to deal with. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. That it's nice to know what's on sale or, you know, what band is playing at this place or whatever. But I also don't want to see the sidewalks cluttered up. People are going to take advantage of it. So maybe there can be you're limited to X square foot of this. Every business that has sidewalk frontage gets the same number. And if you want to exceed that, then you need an extra permit or something. So that, say it's 10 square feet, that can be a little rack of clothing, maybe less than 10 square feet, a sidewalk sign, a bench, something like that. And I think that's kind of creates to the walking environment of downtown or Steinway. And but again, if you have a provision so they can't be abused.
So this is a challenging thing for us, and we've talked about this before, specifically with A-frame signs, or with outdoor furniture, when the planter boxes. It has to be, not every business gets one, because not every business has a passable sidewalk, right? Like the north side of Chambersburg Street, the first block, you just can't add more stuff to it, because it becomes unpassable. Like, we've had to be very specific. Like, if you are going to have signage, you must be able to place it in an area where nothing is within 5 feet of it. And this is federal law. We must maintain passable sidewalks. So not everybody gets the same thing. Right. It has to be form-based. It has to be based on measurable and enforceable, unfortunately, bureaucratic rules. Right. There's, merchandise that's put all the way out to the curb, that is affecting ADA. People can't get out of their cars. Merchandise, the biggest problem we have with sandwich board signs is not their existence and it's not their management. It's that their employees just kind of walk out and put the sign down and they're not measuring. Like, whatever, put it on. Like, I know one place, I'm not going to say which one, I move both of their sandwich board signs every single time I walk by, because they are both completely obscuring any passage by anyone able-bodied or not. And it doesn't seem to matter how many times we talk to them about it. We have to maintain passage. So unfortunately, not everybody's going to get that equal treatment.
Yeah, right, as long as it meets ADA.
Yep.
Yeah, I would just like to recommend that someone from staff meet with the Steinway Avenue bid and other restaurants. And really, if you need evaluative measures or ways to increase participation, like talking to the people who aren't participating would be, I think, the most remarkable thing you could do to get that feedback and data.
Okay. I don't know if that was as helpful as the first one, but
well, we will be. I'll be working with Jill we'll be able to come back with specific requests that meet what staff is observing, and then also meeting the needs of the business community.
Okay. Number 3.
So that was kind of number 3. Number 4, establishing specific requirements for the built environment, kind of merged into that one as well. If agreeable, that would be something we can also look at with the permitting schedule. So unless there's a problem with that type of regulation, the specific design of that street furniture, we already are going to have specific design criteria for public maintained infrastructure. So there's the street poles that look nice, the decorative lights that are accepted as infrastructure by the borough. Those are things that we have very easy regulation that we can create through the Saldo to regulate that. It's when we get to the private things, when it is like benches and signage, poles. Those could be either utility pole or things as mundane as a barber's pole. when things are in the public right of way, just being able to have a general form book or design schedule would be beneficial, and it's something that staff is prepared to explore further with your blessing.
Does anyone have an objection to that?
So this would be like, you can have like these type of chairs, these type of tables, these type of materials, these type of color, like that kind of thing?
It could be, yes.
I would say that could be hard. Like, so like, for instance, like the, beer distributors, they'll give you a free or multiple, 10, 12, whatever, free umbrellas. You just saved a couple grand right there. So if that wasn't like an approved thing, then you come in and be like, hey, you got to take those down and buy all new umbrellas. Or, a lot of times you're not going to go and buy new outdoor furniture because it's just too expensive. So you'll go to auction and you get it there. And then if they bring that in, they don't know these, requirements. Then you say, like, you can't send it back to auction. You've already paid out. Like, I'm just thinking out loud as far as like what happens when you
Counterpoint, right? You run a restaurant on the square. We're all extraordinarily invested in the general and overall appearance of our downtown area. You own a restaurant and you put in white plastic lawn furniture.
Mm-hmm.
Do we not all have a vested interest in, specifying that it has to meet a certain standard?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I think out of coincidence, a lot of the furniture at the businesses around the square all kind of looks the same anyhow. It's all kind of like black, metal. It might be different from building to building, but as you walk around, you see black, heavy-duty metal furniture.
This specific instance was more related to, we were having issues with, this wasn't last year, but in 2024, the location around the pub and restaurant. The parking there is such that a very large truck with a very large hitch can make it very hard to walk around. And the way that the business had the landscaping and their barricades set up, it created a bit of a hazard. We were able, like I said, we worked with them. We were able to have a better scenario for the year after, but it may be beneficial to specifically say what those barriers can look like. Because there are going to be instances where you can get something cheaper, but there's a reason it's cheaper.
Yeah, and all of those barriers and furniture have a tendency to creep, and it's not intentional, right? It's just, a customer gets up and leaves their chair, and it kind of stays out in the public walkway. The barrier you're speaking of at the pub just has a tendency to kind of, over the summer, just kind of creep closer and closer to the curb, and then a truck parks with their bumper overhanging the sidewalk, and two people can't pass abreast, much less you couldn't get a stroller or somebody using a wheelchair through. So, and this stuff is already regulated. Like if you go to these businesses who have it and look closely, you'll see brass pins fired into the sidewalk. They have been told, what exactly the limits of the space they can use is, and it is their responsibility to stay within that space and to check the placement of that furniture and those barriers daily. But, Pete does have to go kind of remind them from time to time to scooch it in. This is stuff we already do regulate.
So I think I have guidance from this, and we can proceed with some additional research on our end, working with business communities to get some feedback, and we'll have some additional materials for you for this one little sliver of sidewalks in the near future.
We haven't really tackled sidewalks yet this session. People who were on last year know what we're talking about when we say the Venn diagram with all the circles. 2 years ago, we decided to start tackling the sidewalk ordinance because there are problems with it. There are places where there's too much ambiguity. There are places where there's too much specificity. There are places where it just needs modernized. There are places where our our ordinance contradicts itself or contradicts a different ordinance within it. For example, when we talk about sidewalks, we are talking about the actual paving. We're talking about the composition of any concrete or brick. We're talking about signage, both stuff on the ground and overhead. We're talking about streetlights. We're talking about newspaper boxes, furniture, snow and ice removal, raking. We're talking about the ADA. We are talking about, it really is like 15 overlapping circles in this Venn diagram, with the ADA drawn as a big circle around all of it. So when we talk about where we want to put, how high we have to put flags, well, there are state guidelines and then there are ADA guidelines, and we have to make sure we are consistent with all of it. We started tackling sidewalks because we were like, yeah, we're going to just plow through this. And here we are 2 years later, and we've barely made a dent. So this is going to be one of many subjects we need to discuss before we can get to the real meat and potatoes of sidewalks, which is the financial burden of actually repairing a broken section of sidewalk. And that is a dense topic. The last council last year, we decided that if a street tree planted by the Shade Tree Commission disrupted the sidewalk and caused a heave, that's the borough's fault and we have to deal with it. And the Shade Tree Commission did a really extraordinary job surveying all of those trees and sidewalk damage for us last year, and they did that for free, which is an amazing piece of volunteerism. But there are other sidewalk disruptions, places where sidewalks have heaved for other reasons, whether it's, you know, a sinkhole or a piece just crumbles or whatever. And under the current law, that's actually the property owner's responsibility. And so it's fun for me when we get these letters from businesses and property owners are like, fix the damn sidewalks. And we're like, it's actually your job. It's not ours, it's yours. You have to do it. But what we don't do is start fining people. We did it once. We're going to take a break from that. We need to get to a point where we can, though. We need to get to a point where the ordinance has been cleaned up and is orderly to the point where we can go to a specific property owner and say, this square of sidewalk needs to be replaced. It is a danger, and that is your responsibility, or it's not your responsibility. If it's our responsibility, we have to figure out a funding structure. Concrete is stupid expensive, especially at the density we require, somewhere between $5,000 and $7,000 a square. And we have something like, 10,000 squares that need replaced in the borough. So you can do the math. It's an astronomical sum of money that we don't have. So we also need property owners to take advantage or to take interest in keeping those sidewalks passable as well. But we are not in a position to start issuing citations because we're not really in a defensible position with our ordinance. And we also had discussed our desire to take the borough's revolving loan fund, which we can get into another time, and we can turn this into a way for property owners, like homeowners, to have an interest-free loan to get these repairs done, which they can pay back with a very generous window at no interest. And that's not something you're going to get from your home equity loan or from a bank. But we do have an opportunity to create those mechanisms for homeowners here. So we will be revisiting this over and over and over again. All right. Any other comments on that before we move on?
So to be clear, once we've cleaned up the ordinance, then we can pursue some way of fixing them.
Yes, then it becomes a matter of code enforcement.
Yeah, I would say in Mechanicsburg, where I lived before, what they would do is they would say, these houses on this street, we got letters. You need to fix this. And it would actually say, we'll fix it for you. This is what it will cost you, or you can pursue it and fix it yourself. But you have to declare which way you're going.
Yeah.
So it wasn't fining them, but it was getting a solution.
Yeah, our current ordinance, the way it's written, we are not enforcing it because it's really kind of draconian. The way it is now, if Pete shows up at your house and hangs a warning on your door, you have 30 days, and if you don't do it in 30 days, we start fining you $1,000 a day. And that is not good, so we don't do it. But we do need to get to a point where we can actually be compelling people to, not even compelling, but enabling and empowering people to make these repairs as well. And then we have to take advantage and find ways to fund the places where it's our responsibility. Any other comments or questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Whitmore. Still no public, so we will skip the next public comment section. And we will adjourn to executive session. Let's take 10 minutes and we'll meet back here.